What is your take on 2019 Olympia and Brandon Curry's win and his performance there?
Okay, when I was in the audience at 2018, I was sitting right by Brandon's wife. So it's weird. We always end up really close to one another. And I told her he was next to win it. Didn't know anything about Shawn, didn't know anything that. Brandon had been knocking at the door. So yes, I think it's a great victory. Also, Brandon has done what few have done. He won the Arnold and the Olympia in the same year. It's in the same year. That's usually you can only peak like that for one show, one time a year. He wins both shows. So I think he earned that victory, and anybody that puts a blemish on him, I think, shame on you. Give that man his props. And he's been winning, and he's been knocking at the door, and he is getting better, and he will continue to get better.
And in your opinion, do you think if that year Shawn was competing, do you think it would have been the same outcome, or do you think Shawn would have defeated him?
If I trained Shawn, of course, he would have won it 3 more years. No, I'm just being honest. He would have won it 3 more years. I was onto something, and we were onto something. We had a great team. There's no way that anybody would have beat him, and I think we would have won. If I wouldn't train him and it was left, maybe Shawn would have took second, or he would have took third. That's what I believe.
What was your strategy for Shawn after he won the first one? Like next year, what was your plan to make him bigger? What was the plan to? Because you say you got to improve, right? Every year, you got to bring. You got to show at least a little bit. So what was going to be?
I purposely left body parts lagging. Purposely left the triceps and arms lagging. I purposely did that. I purposely left the lower back. So my job was to be a little bit harder, but fill in and refine the triceps, arms total, get more cut and size on the arms, and get the lower back in there. And how I was going to do that, I was going to do a bicep, a tricep, bicep bump once a week, and a full train another part of the week, and then we would implement the deadlifts in there to get the lower back stronger, but just enough weight to not expand the waist. I had the plan already set.
Wow, that's incredible, man. It's like science, you know what I mean? It's like,
of course, you have to leave a little in the tank for next year. Like I said, you have to beat yourself. So I knew what the flaws were in his body. I knew what the flaws were in his body, and all I had to do was actually get those better, and then it would have been the same outcome. There was nobody on there. Maybe Hade Chupin would have gave us an actual run for our money, but a lot of times you don't get to the Olympia first time and just win that. But I think Shawn would have easily won the Olympia, and I think Steve Weinberger even said the same thing. He would have won in 2019.
What do you think in general? Because I think after Brandon won, he's been criticized, like you mentioned, by a few legends actually in the sport, right? They said that if he was competing back then, he wouldn't place top 6. And then the whole conversation started whether the level of competitors was actually much better in the 90s than now. It created a dialogue, you know what I mean? Like, what do you think about that? Were the actual competitors much better and actually more conditioned in the 90s than right now?
Let's do it like this. You can go back and you can do your internet search. If you look at the 98, 99 European Grand Prix, any of those guys could have win Mr. Olympia. Those guys were phenomenal. Ronnie Coleman, 96, 97, 98. There's no one that can tell me or tell anyone that these guys were not phenomenal bodybuilders. The thing is, they would have, if Brandon was in that time period, he would have emulated the bodies at that time, and he would have been in the mix. This is a different era. These guys, like now, you need shredded glutes. You have to have fibers in your glutes now. This is what you need. But back then, fibers in the glute, that wasn't a mandatory thing. If you didn't have fibers in the glute, that wasn't what they were looking for. You didn't have to be 260 or 270. But if that was the criteria, they would have. But the bodybuilders there, they were the elite bodybuilders. When you saw a pro bodybuilder on the street, that really meant something. You meet a pro bodybuilder now, sometimes you're surprised that they're pro. They have to tell you that they're pro. So when you saw a pro bodybuilder, you knew that guy was pro. You just by looking at him, he was pro. You could tell that level of fitness, that level like that. And let's take Dexter Jackson. He was from that era, right? He's still winning shows to this day. So that should tell you how good those guys are. This guy is still winning shows. So it's easy to verbalize and talk something away or try to talk something away. But just do your research. You can go to the nationals of 2000, not even of 2000 or 99 and 98. Those guys are phenomenal. They're phenomenal. Those are phenomenal bodybuilders. So, you know, we sit back and like with me, I wasn't a pro bodybuilder. I didn't compete much, but I don't think anybody trains as hard as me. We always say that.